Hi, welcome to my channel Takniki Gyan Guru. Today we have come with a new video that is on AI/ML. So we will talk about and will show you how to create a chatbot using ChatGPT, .NET Core, Web API, and React.js. So we'll talk about a little bit here and then we'll move to the demo. So how we'll do, the end user will make a query to the React.js front-end application chatbot, right? In the React.js, we will create a UI that will look like a chatbot where the end user can query and it will get the response back to the end user. So how the React.js will respond? React.js will have only the UI, so it will get the data or it will query to the Node.js .NET Core API, right? So we have created a .NET Core API that has the post method that will connect with the OpenAI model or with ChatGPT model, where it will request and then get a response from the ChatGPT. Why we created this one? This will be a more secure, right? We are directly not getting the data from the ChatGPT. We have the middleware where we are having um, you know API. That API will call to the ChatGPT and get respond back to the front end. So the React.js will call the post method and it will give you the user input, whatever user is putting the information or input the questions. It will take from the user and push into the post method, that is it written into the .NET, right? That is the core API we will create. And this .NET will call the ChatGPT model. We will use a pre-trained model, that is free one. There are multiple model available: ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 3.5, Turbo, a lot of other model is available. So we'll see what model we'll use, the free one, right? So once it will call the ChatGPT model, OpenAI model from ChatGPT, and how this will call, because the .NET Core AI needs some authentication method to authenticate the ChatGPT, right? So we will create an API key. That API key will be generated through ChatGPT or OpenAI, and then it will save to .NET Core. And when we make a call, the API key should pass to the model or to the request, and this will be authenticate, and if it is authenticated then it will respond back to the .NET Core. So ChatGPT pre-trained model respond back to .NET Core API if it is authenticated, and then it will respond back. Once .NET Core is get the response, it will respond back again to the React.js. .NET Core API will further respond back to the front-end chatbot. This is the chatbot. It will, right, and then the React.js will print, or chatbot will print the response to the user, so that the user can see the response data, right? So we'll go to the deeper understand the code. So we have the code chatbot. We will create a chatbot using ChatGPT, React.js, and .NET Web API. That's this time to It is time to demo. Let's move to the Visual Studio Code and see how we can build the chatbot. Now we are in Visual Studio. So let's create one new project. Here we have combination of two project like React and .NET Core. We need not to create separate project. But if you do not have the Visual Studio, then definitely just comment me. I will definitely come back with a separate video where I will show you how to create separate .NET Core Web API in a separate project in a command line, also the React.js in the command line, or also in the VS Code also. But today I am working on Visual Studio. So how we can create? Let's search over here React. So if you search React, you can see few options. It is the ReactJS separate, say standalone ReactJS for JavaScript or TypeScript, and ReactJS with ASP.NET for JavaScript or TypeScript. So I want to create a ReactJS that should integrate it with ASP.NET Core, and that should be a JavaScript project, right? So if I click next, then we have to give some name. Let's say ChatGPT chatbot, and click on next. Here, here you can see HTTPS. We don't need the HTTPS in the local server, local host. When we are deploying to production, definitely we require this HTTPS. So for now, I'm uncheck this one. Enable open API support. So this is required when you are in development mode. You have to test your API, right? So for testing the API, you should have either Postman or some script or something else, right? To test your API. So this open API will help you to test your API through Swagger, right? Through Swagger, I will show you in the demo. Through Swagger, we can easily test our API, right? That is also integrated with the project. Also the use controller, so we will use controller to build our post method into the controller. Now let's click on create, and this will create a project. Now it has created some project. If you can see one project, the client, this chatbot GPT client, this is the React application, and the chatbot server, this is the .NET Core API, right? So by default it will create some weather forecasting API. So we don't want, so we will not touch it. We'll create one more controller. Click on the controller folder, right click and select add, and select controller. So we want the empty controller. Let's say add, and we have to change the name. So let's say you can give any other name. Chatbot. I'm giving chatbot controller and add. So this is the chatbot controller is created. So if I write a code, it will take some time. Let me copy and paste. So I'm just copy and pasting all my code, so you'll understand what is it. And because it gives us some error, and like open API, right? So this open API package we need to install. So how we'll install? We'll select the chat GPT bot server application project, and right click and manage NuGet. And here it is by default it's selected install. We'll click on browse, and here in the search box we will say open AI, and we'll select this one, open AI, and install. Ask for some permission, so apply, I accept. So it is installed. Now go to chat GPT. It is not project, chat bot controller. Now you can see, okay, we need the namespaces also. So giving the namespaces here, open a So this code is ready. Now still, let's understand first the code. This is the controller, right? Inside the controller, I have taken a variable called the private variable called API key. API key is basically we have to generate a key in chatbot on the chat GPT so that it should authenticate and give you the answer, right, whatever you are asking for. So chat gpt is the system where we are just querying, uh, asking for, and it will give you the answer based on your authenticated method, right? So we need to create a API key from chat gpt. I'll show you how we can create. And this is the constructor of chatbot controller where we are passing the I configuration so that we can get the value, right? Value from our this one. You can see app setting, right? We here we pass all our configuration details, right? Or maintain our configuration details. So I will also put our APK over here. It is not mandatory because we need to have some security keys. So there are multiple ways we can manage our security keys. But for now, we'll manage our API key over appsetting.json. And we are just getting configuration.get value string API key. This API key from the appsetting.js to my local variable, right? In the API key. So the API key is now with us. Now we have created a post method called chatbot, right? Now we can public async task I action result chatbot, and this is the from body we are putting having some input parameter. That is just we are having some questions, right? From that question we will pass here, and it will process. How it will process? It is creating an object of open API. When we are creating object of OpenAI, we need to give the API key, right? We have generated this key from the chatbot, ChatGPT. So once the OpenAI object is created, we will create one object of completion request, right? This completion request, this is from the OpenAI only. If you can see in the this one, OpenAPI dot completion, right? So completion equal to new completion dot prompt, right? This prompt means the question we are asking, right? Or anything we want to have the answer, right? So we are putting the user input, whatever question we have, and we are selecting a model, right? So any AI had have some models, right? Pre-built model. So that model we will use. So the completion dot model is open API dot model dot model dot chat GPT turbo instruct. You can use, there are multiple models are available. If you click on this, you can see the baggage tags, ChatGPT Turbo, Instruct, 16K4 is also available, right? ChatGPT 4, right? Here. So if you have the access, you purchased it, then you can also use ChatGPT 4. So for now, we will use the ChatGPT Turbo Instruct. Max token is 500. So this is max token is we have to pass some parameters. The max token is maximum tokens we have to pass to the this one, right? So you can increase the more than 500 also. For now, let's now once the completion is ready, then OpenAI dot completion dot create completion async, right? And we will pass this completion to the this async method, and it will give you the result, right? This result, and we have created a string called answer. and we are checking if result is not null. If not null, then we will get the value from result dot completion, right? From result we will get the data, and then we will add the item dot text into the answer. Correct? This is the for loop. So inside the for loop, all these detail will be added to the answer, and then finally we will return our answer to the API. Right? This will be written over uh, data into the front end. And if there is any error, then it will show you bad request not found something. You can change as per your custom error. And if there are any issue within the try catch block, then it will come to the catch block and it will give you an error and show you the message what kind of error it comes from the try, right? This is what we have done. Now we have to change, right? First of all, API key, so we need to add API key also. So how we can add the API key? So let's click on app.json, and here we need to say any API key, right? This is one of the API key, so we'll create another API key and put into here. Now let's go and create an API key in chatbot in ChatGPT. Now we move to browser. Let's type openai.com, and once you are in landing page, click on login in the right corner. Login. Then it will ask, do you want to log into ChatGPT or API? So I want to log into API because I am already logged in. So that's why. Otherwise, it will ask you for credentials. So once you are in the page, you can see a lot of options, but in the left hand side you can click on setting. In this setting you can see uh, the API key also. Click on API key. One API key already there, you can create one more API key. Say create a new key. You can give any phrase over here. It is optional. If you're giving blank, that's also okay. And create. Once you create, then it will give you one this one API key. You have to copy and paste somewhere in safer place. Now we have done with the API key. Now move to our Visual Studio, and now we are in Visual Studio. So now we are in Visual Studio. So let's paste the the key we have created in ChatGPT. So we have pasted. Now it is ready. Let's test our API that is working or not. So click on start. It will create open two new browser. One is for the ReactJS, that is front end. We haven't made any changes, that's why it is showing weather forecast the default page. And the another one is Swagger, right? The API to test the API. So remember, I have checked the Open AI API support, right? So because I checked, that's why it gives this Swagger page where we can test our API. So we have created Chatbot API, right? So click on post, try out, and what is our No, its answer is flower is the reproductive part of a plant. So it gives us a answer, right? So it means the API is working. Now we will move to Visual Studio and see and start coding for the UI, and we'll call this API into UI. Now we have already tested our API that is built on .NET Core Web API, that is working fine. Now we will integrate this API into our front end that is built on ReactJS. So let's move to the ReactJS application now. You can see in the source folder we have the app. This app.jsx file, it is default for the weather forecasting, right? So we won't use it. Let us create another UI file. Right click on src source, add new item, and select JSX file and name it chatbot and add. Now the chatbot is added. Again, we will go and um, you know copy all we let's understand. We import the React, right, and import the CSS. We have created a CSS file. Let's create a CSS also. Right click here, add new item and style sheet. This one, right? Let's say chatbot.css. Add it and can copy. Yes, we are doing CSS. Where is the CSS? This. We are just aligning left to my control, right? The CSS is text line left. We are just putting left all my controls, right? And this is chatbot. Now, once we import these two, then we have created a function const chat. This is the main function, right? This will call our app.file, app dot this file, JSX file, right? So how we'll do that? Let us now let us understand. So we have created this one use state is for session. This is the variable session variable user input. From here we'll get our value, and set input will set input value to user input, right? This is for the session management. And again we have two variables, one is the user input, another one is chat response. Chat response is basically we'll get the data from the chat GPT, and this user input is basically we have our data input from the user, right? So these two as mentioned over here, this is required response and the questions we put into the text box, the user input. Now the handle user input, this is another function we'll call handle user input. Whenever we'll put our data, it will put the data into the user input, right? We are setting the user input data. So how this handle user input, it will call into our user input. See this text box, right? Whenever we put our data, like type our data into the text box, like I'm typing who is lion, right, or whatever, what is flower, what is .NET, I'm asking question. So whenever I'm asking question into text box, this text box user input will call the handle user input. When this handle user input, we get the text and put into your user input variable, right? And then we are calling a async method. It will send our data to ChatGPT, our question to ChatGPT, and get the response from the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is basically, we have the internal API, that is .NET Core API, right? It will send our call our API on the ChatGPT API, the localhost 500 and Chatbot, right? You can see this control. This is the URL automatically localhost 5000 and Chatbot control, right? It will call the Chatbot control, this one, and it will call this function Chatbot. Correct. Now let's go fetch from localhost. We have run this through this Swagger also, right? We can test in using PowerShell. I'll show you how we'll check the PowerShell also. So this way we can do this. Method is post header. This is the JSON, right? So we will mention the header JSON, and body is still we convert as a JSON, and user input. User input, as I said, we have discussed the user input. That is basically whenever we are typing, it put into the variable called user input. So we'll get the input data and put into this function, right? So it will go and get the response from there. So this is another function. We are just getting data from the response using the await key, right? And once the data is there, then we are just logging data, printing data into the log, and then we are setting up data into the chat response variable. You can see this chat response, right? The response will be in the chat response. So we are calling the set chat response, means the set chat response will put our data into chat response variable, chat response variable, right? Now if there is any error, then it will print, or it will print the error, or it will print the error into the text box, response text box. Now what we are doing, we are just displaying our UI. This one is only the display the UI. So we have created a div that is left, you know, alignment is left, means all the control will be into the left. Now we have created the strong, one strong, putting you, whatever we are putting our value, that will print here your user input data, right? And another div where we are uh, saying chatbot response data from the chatbot. So we are printing the response, saying we are writing something, chatbot is responding something. So it will from getting from the chat response. And the last div, we have the input, means text box. The text box is getting the user input, right? And another button, that button will send this text to the function, like handled send message, right? It will call handle send message. This is the main method, right? So this button will call handle send method. This button will call handle send method, that execute that function where we have written the code of getting response from the .NET Core API, and .NET Core API will get the data from ChatGPT, right? So this way, this is done. Now some more changes we have, like app.js, right? Still app.js is still this one, right? The weather forecast default. So we want to call our own, copy and paste, and see similar, import the this one React use effect and use state. that is not required here, but still, yeah. Import slash app.cs, right? Import chat. This is our chatbot JSX, right? So the chatbot JSX function will be called. What it will call? It will call this one. We are returning, right, this one, default chat, right, this chat. So chat, and it will return chatbot. You can make change like chatbot and again make it chatbot, right? It will return the chatbot. This whole function will be returned. Chatbot will return this one, and this chatbot will be called into app.jsx chatbot, right? And we mentioned this chatbot. So how will we do this? It will say the ChatGPT chatbot. This is the heading, and chatbot is basically here. It will display this one, this UI, right? First of all, U strong chatbot response and this button. So here it will display. This class will be display here only. Now both the application is done. If there is any error, we'll check. Let's start this application. So Swagger is still coming, right? So we need to disable Swagger, otherwise our application won't work. Disable the Swagger. Let's go to program.cs into the bot server file, and disable this one. Builder.service.add Swagger gen, and disable these two. Search for Swagger here in the React launch.setting, right? See in the React in the ChatGPT chatbot server. In the server, we have the properties and launch.setting, right? Here we have to disable the Swagger also. So just select all the Swagger till here. Till here and close. Yes, clear, right? Now this looks good. Rerun again, otherwise sometime it won't work. Run this application again. It's blank. Let's go and inspect. What is the error? Chatbot is not defined. Here inside the source app.jsx file, we are importing chat because it was the chatbot. Now run it. Now let's run it. Right now you can see the chatbot is there. You can search what is .net and send it. It's giving some error. I know what is this error is. Um, okay, go to the console, the access fetch. So whenever we are calling any function that is different domain, right? Different port like localhost 5. We are in localhost 5173 and we are calling localhost 5000 localhost 5000 chatbot. So different domain won't work. So we have to, it has been blocked by course, right? Course is blocked if we are working different domain. So we have to allow this React application so that this can be communicated. To fix this origin one, we have to go to the program.cs. Here we have to add some details like before app builder, one builder.service.add course option. We are adding add policy allow React app. So we have to allow React app. So builder dot with region. So we have localhost 5173. From this URL, we are accessing this. From this URL, this is the React front-end application, and we are changing in program C. This is the .NET Core API, right? So in Core API, we are giving access to React JS URL, right? So we are allowing any header, allowing method and credentials also with origin. This one, right? This is not required any because we are giving access to or permission to this one, right? And one more thing we need to add is app app.course app.course app.use course allow React app. This allow React app. This policy will be applied to the use course, right? So once it is done, then we have to run this again and check. Now run this project again. Let's say what is ReactJS, right? Whenever you are typing, you see your typing is here. You are typing here, and respond will be listed here. Chatbot. Click on send. Now see, you type what is React chatbot responded React.js is open source JavaScript library used for building user interface in web applications, right? You can search anything else. Node.js. You say who is Prime Minister of India? If you click on send again, as of September 2021, 2021, Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India, right? Using the chatbot, you can create your own chatbot here. I haven't focused on the UI, right? So this is just a very simple UI I have created. We can work and create a well-defined UI also. So if you have any queries, questions, please definitely ask. We'll definitely come back with solutions. I have already seen the demo how to create a chatbot using ChatGPT, ReactJS, and .NET Web API. So this will end to our video. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you really like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you want to have more videos and you want to suggest some topics on your own, and definitely comment us. We'll come back with such videos. So till then, thank you so much and bye.